The Best Christmas Present in the World is a sensitive story by Michael Morpurgo. In this story, the narrator buys the 19th century desk and finds a letter in it, written by an English soldier, Jim McPherson, to his wife, Connie. This chapter is about that letter and how the narrator handed it over to Connie. Hi students, this is Anuva from AglaSem, and here I am back with a new video to help you all understand better and score more in exams. Today's video is all about the questions and answers of Class 8 English Chapter 1 from the book of Honeydew. The character of the story includes the narrator, Jim McPherson, an English soldier who is the main character, Connie McPherson, she is the wife of Jim McPherson, and Hans Wolf, who is the German soldier. Now let us directly hit the question and answers starting from comprehension check of page number 10. The first question is, what did the author find in a junk shop? The answer is that the author found a 19th century roll-top desk in the junk shop. It was made of oak. It was in a very bad condition. The roll-top was broken into several pieces. One of the legs was clumsily mended and there were scorch marks down one side. The author bought it as it was not so costly and author was in need of one. Question number 2 is, what did he find in a secret drawer? Who do you think had put it in there? The answer is, the author found a small black tin box in the secret drawer. There was a paper sellotaped to its top on which Jim's last letter received January 25, 1915 was written. Most likely it was put there by Mrs. Jim McPherson, who was Jim's wife, because her name and address was on the envelope inside the box. Question number 1 of comprehension check of page number 14 is, who had written the letter, to whom and when? So the answer is, Jim McPherson had written the letter to his wife, Mrs. McPherson, during December 1914. It was written during the First World War. Question 2 says, why was the letter written? What was the wonderful thing that had happened? Answer is, Jim wrote the letter to his wife about a wonderful thing happened on Christmas, which was that British and the Germans were engaged in a war. Yet, on this day, both the troops met in no man's land. It was a thing of wonder because right in the middle of a war, the warring soldiers were making peace, celebrating Christmas, playing, dancing and eating together. Question number 3 says, what jobs did Hans Wolf and Jim McPherson have when they were not soldiers? Answer for this question is, Hans Wolf was from Dusseldorf. He played the cello in the orchestra. Jim McPherson was a school teacher from Dorset. Question number 4 is, had Hans Wolf even been to Dorset? Why did he say he knew it? Answer is, no. Hans Wolf had never been to Dorset. He had learned all about England from school from reading books in English. Question 5 says, do you think Jim McPherson came back from the war? How do you know this? So the answer is no. It is most likely that Jim McPherson did not came from the war. The note paper sellotape to the tin box mentioned the letter contained in the box to be the last letter from Jim. This was perhaps the last that Connie heard from Jim. While celebrating Christmas in no man's land, the British and German soldier played a game of football. Hans told Jim that he hoped the war would also be resolved by a football match. To this, Jim replied that he wasn't very good at football but would be sure of winning if they played cricket. The match was won by the Germans. This perhaps indicates that the Germans might also won the actual battle between the two troops. Moving forward to page number 15, comprehension check, question number 1 says, why did the author go to the Bridport? Answer is, the author went to Bridport because that was the address where Mrs. McPherson lived. He wanted to give that letter back to her. Question 2 is, how old was Mrs. McPherson now? Where was she? Answer is, Mrs. McPherson was 101 years old. She was in a nursing home in Burlington House. Moving forward to page number 16, question number 1 says, who did Connie McPherson think her visitor was? Answer is, Connie McPherson thought that her visitor was husband Jim and not the narrator. Question number 2 is, which sentence in the text shows that the visitor did not try to hide his identity? Answer to this question is, the sentence which shows the visitor did not hide his identity is, I explained about the desk and how I had found it, but I don't think she was listening. Now let us discuss the answers for working with the text, page number 16. Through these questions and answers, the concept of the chapter and summary shall be clear to each and every candidate. Question number 1 says, for how long do you think Connie had kept Jim's letter? Give reasons for your answer. So the answer is, Connie must have kept Jim's letter for a long time. This is because she told the narrator how she read it quite often every day so that she could feel that Jim was near her. Question number 2 is, why do you think the desk had been sold and when? Answer is, the desk must have been sold when the house in which Connie McPherson lived had caught fire. She was taken to a nursing home. All the burnt up things must have been sold by the neighbors after that. Question number 3 is, why do Jim and Hans think that games or sports are good ways of resolving conflicts? Do you agree? Answer is, Jim and Hans thought this way because nobody dies in matches, no children are orphaned, and no wives become widows. Due to these reasons, games are good ways of resolving conflicts. Wars only lead to death. Mostly, I also agree to this. I genuinely believe that games and sports increase the friendship and bonding among all the individuals, even those who participate and those who actually are the audience. It promotes brotherhood, coexistence, and a great feeling of joy and enthusiasm among all. Question number 4 is, do you think the soldiers of the two armies are like each other or different from each other? Find evidence from the story to support your answer. So the answer is, the soldiers of two armies were like each other. Both the troops celebrated Christmas with each other. They shared each other's food. All of them were smoking, laughing, talking, drinking, and eating together. They even talked about the books they liked. They agreed about everything. They also played a game of football for which both Hans and Jim cheered, clapped hands, and stamped feet. They also exchanged carols at night. Moreover, they had the same views that wars only brought death, and they hoped that each would be alive to see his family. All these instances show that the soldiers of the two armies were similar to each other. Question number 5 is, mention the various ways in which the British and the German soldiers become friends and find things in common at Christmas. Answer is, the British and German troops celebrated Christmas each other. They enjoyed each other's food. All of them were smoking, laughing, drinking, and eating together. Hans Wolf and Jim McPherson shared the cake Connie had baked. They talked about Gabriel, Oak, Troy, and Dorset. They even talked about the books they liked. They agreed about everything. Both the troops played a game of football for which both Hans and Jim cheered, clapped hands, and stamped feet. They also exchanged carols at night. In this way, they celebrated Christmas together, finding a lot in common between them. Question number 6 is, what is Connie's Christmas present? Why is it the best Christmas present in the world? Answer is, when the narrator came to see Connie and gave her the box, she mistook him from her husband. She thought that Jim had come home for Christmas. This was Connie's Christmas present. It was the best Christmas present in the world for her because Jim had written in the letter that he would come home on Christmas. She had read that letter several times every day to feel that he was near her. Now that he was finally there with her, she was extremely happy. Question number 7 is, do you think the title of the story is suitable for it? Can you think of any other title? Yes, the title of the story is suitable for it. The spirit of Christmas is the theme that prevails throughout the story. It was on a Christmas day in the middle of raging war that two warring troops made peace. The movement of peace that the soldiers shared with each other was the best Christmas present for them. Again, it was on Christmas Day that the narrator went to see Mrs. McPherson. He went to return her husband's letter to her. The letter was precious to her, but even more precious was her delusion that the narrator was her husband Jim, who she believed had returned as promised on a Christmas Day. This was the best Christmas present in the world for her. So congratulations students, we have completed all the questions and answers of the book Honeydew. I hope that you have understood everything. In case of any confusion in any question, drop a comment to us. We would love to help. Stay connected with us by subscribing. See you all soon.